Hi, my name is Nikita Rao, and this is my response to case study 2 on Brazilian stagflation. So to kind of set the stage here, Brazil is going through a period known as stagflation, which is unique in that it features both high unemployment and high inflation. And as we know from the Phillips curve, generally there's an inverse relationship between the two, and the concept of stagflation violates this. Therefore, the economic theories that are generally employed during a time of recession aren't able to address stagflation as cleanly. So currently, the inflation rate is at a whopping 10% in 2015, when the target was 4.5%, and there's almost a 7% unemployment rate. And understandably, Brazilians are upset because things are getting more expensive and they're not able to afford everything that they need to survive since the unemployment rate is also high. And there are a number of big contributors to this situation, some notable ones being devalued currency and their dependency on oil as a net export. One of the big things that led to the period of stagflation is corruption around the government-controlled oil company Petrobras. And since net exports is a component of real GDP, this corruption has impacted that net exports component and driven down the GDP. So there are two general solutions that are generally employed during a period of recession, and I'm going to talk a bit about their pros and cons and suggest a pie-in-the-sky alternative that might work in this unique situation, seeing as none of the core and generally employed economic theories really fit perfectly. The first generally employed theory is the supply-side solution. And as part of this, the government would reduce taxes, which means that households would have more money to spend. And in doing this, there'd be an increase in the money supply in circulation. When the money increases in circulation, there'd also be an increase in inflation, which is something I'll come back to later. Also, they would reduce federal spending because they're reducing taxes and they want to keep the budget deficit in check. And since federal spending is a direct component of GDP, this would also then, as a result, lower GDP. And finally, they would increase interest rates to fight inflation. And the Fed can achieve a decrease in the amount of money in circulation with an increase in interest rates. And this can be achieved by selling government bonds to increase money in circulation, raising the discount rate. And this discount rate is basically what would make it more expensive for commercial banks to borrow money. And this decreases the money supply. And finally, it would be to raise the RRR, which is the required reserve ratio, and it's the minimum amount of money that a commercial bank, must maintain in its reserves. And this basically means that the bank is storing more money. So with these three factors in consideration on the supply side, the positives are that we've fought inflation with the interest rates, and we've done nothing to grow GDP, though, and pull the economy out of a recession effectively. We've attempted to grow the GDP by increasing the money in circulation and reduce taxes, but that's kind of counteracted by the measures that we've then employed to reduce the money in circulation and reduce inflation. So we've also lowered GDP by reducing federal spending. So even with the pros of the supply-side solution, there are definitely cons that don't really completely meet the needs of the economy during this period. The second option is the Keynesian theory of economics. And this is what the central government has currently employed in Brazil. And this basically means that we're going to increase the spending to stimulate the economy. Also, we're going to increase taxes to fight inflation and reduce the budget deficit. And then we're going to reduce interest rates to also stimulate the economy.